is up, guys? It is the Turtle Girl. Welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about pets and animals that I would never want to own. So this is something that quite a few pet tubers have done, and so I figured I'd just jump on the train. A few of you have requested this video, so we're going to be talking about some pets that I personally would never own. Now I just want to say before we get started, just because a pet on this list is something that I would never own, that doesn't mean it's like a bad pet. It just means like personally I don't see myself owning it. If you have that animal and you love it, then awesome for you. That's great. I just think that the animals on this list that I have are just animals I don't particularly have either any interest in or just don't see myself owning because of other things, which we'll talk about when we get into each animal. Also, I do want to say that there is always the potential, even if I am saying now, these are pets like I really don't want to own or necessarily want. That doesn't mean 10 years down the road I'm like, oh my gosh, I want pet X that I said that I wasn't going to get. So anyway, with all of that out of the way, let's talk about a few of the pets I don't want to own. So I kind of thought we would break this down by different types of animal. So first we're going to start with reptiles. The first one I have on my list are any big snakes. Like by big, I mean probably over 10 feet. Basically anything that's like more than I can handle by myself. That would be anything like a boa constrictor or a Burmese python. Any super duper large snake, especially the constricting snakes, I just don't see myself owning because I would prefer to have a bunch of smaller snakes versus a big snake that has to take up a bunch of space. And that's just personal preference. I don't have anything against big snakes. I think that they're really, really cool, but I just don't think that I personally would want to own them just because of their size and not really the potential that they could, you know, hurt you or anything, because obviously you'd have to be responsible if you had that type of big snake, but just really their size, and that doesn't hold any type of interest for me. So at least right now, no big snakes. The next animal I would have no interest in owning is any type of venomous snake, excluding hognoses. I mean, do they really count because they're like rear fang venomous or whatnot? But we're not counting them. Basically anything that could have the potential to hurt you or kill you. And that's because I feel like, first of all, I would just not be qualified to keep an animal kind of like that, and also have no desire to have that kind of challenge and that kind of responsibility of having a venomous snake. And maybe some people wouldn't necessarily classify venomous snakes as pets, but I know that there are people who do keep dangerous snakes like that as pets. Personally, I don't feel the need for that kind of challenge. I would be happy having any kind of just calm, docile snake that I could just hand to people and let them hold and not be afraid of it. Another pet I would not want to have is any large lizard, really, at least right now. And that would be things like tegus, iguanas, monitors, and that's just because of their size. And also they do have a lot of work and effort. That is an amount of effort that I feel like I would not be able to put in, especially considering their size and the amount of space that they would need to live a great life. So I don't feel like I would be able to provide that, which is why I say large lizards, at least right now, is not something I want. The next animal on this list might surprise a lot of people. People actually ask me a lot if I would ever get this animal, and for some reason, I've just never had a huge interest in this animal. And it's not that they aren't great, I just have like really no desire to own one, at least right now, and I don't really know why. And that animal is bearded dragon. Shocked gasp from like every one of you watching. Now I don't mean to offend anyone by this, I just don't know why, but bearded dragons have never been on the list of animals that I've really wanted. Sure, they're cool and sure they're amazing and friendly. I don't know why, I've always been like, oh, I'd rather have a blue-tongued skink, or I'd rather have a leopard gecko. Bearded dragons have just never really struck a chord with me. I'm not really sure why. Maybe I'll fall in love with them a couple years down the road, but right now I don't see a bearded dragon in my future. Really, there's nothing wrong with them. I just don't know why, but I've never had the inclination to have a bearded dragon. So we'll see. Maybe you guys one day will convince me that I should totally get a bearded dragon and they're the best pets ever, but I don't know. I just never have been really interested in bearded dragons. Now, before we move on from the reptiles, there is actually one turtle that I would never want to own. Yeah, I'm sorry, there is a turtle on this list that I don't really want to own. And you might be wondering, well, what kind of turtle would have to be so horrible that you wouldn't want to own it? That would be a snapping turtle, either an alligator or a common. And I don't mean that they're horrible, I mean that I just wouldn't want to keep one. I think that they're crazy looking, their hunting habits are really interesting, but just because of their size and their behavior of not being like the most active turtle, and the fact that there's so many other turtles that I could want, I just don't see alligator snapping turtles or common snapping turtles being an animal that I would really want to keep or have a desire to keep because of those reasons. Now moving on, there are quite a few mammals that I have on my list. This first one's probably gonna make a lot of people sad, but the first mammal that I would not want to keep would be a cat. I'm so sorry to all you cat lovers out there, and it's not that I'm a cat hater. I am a dog lover, but I am not a cat hater, but I am like semi-allergic to cats, so that kind of plays a big part in it. And I mean, I just prefer dogs. I'm sorry guys, but to all you cat lovers out there, I'm not attacking you. I think cats are really cool too. They're just not my type of animal, and then I'm semi-allergic, so I mean, doesn't really help if you want an animal but you're allergic to it. Next mammal I wouldn't want would have to be a rat. Now, I think rats are super intelligent, super smart, really entertaining, but there's a lot of time and effort that have to be put into rats to make sure that they're socialized and you're spending time with them and you have to have that interaction with them. And I feel like that amount of time and effort is not something I would be able to put towards a single animal. So that's why I would say I wouldn't want a rat. I think rats are really cool and really interesting, just not for me. Another pet I would not want to have is a guinea pig, and that's because I would prefer a rabbit. Plain and simple. If it was a choice between guinea pigs and rabbits, I would choose a rabbit. Some of you know I've wanted a rabbit for a really long time, almost as long as I've wanted like lizards and snakes. In fact, that was actually one of the first pets I tried to convince my parents to get, and they actually said yes to a rabbit, but I decided I didn't have the time or space for it at that point. I don't really know why, I just prefer rabbits, and as cute as guinea pigs are, I feel like they're just not something I would necessarily want. I would wait till I could get a rabbit. And this is not all based on experience, really. It's just my perception and my opinion. So just reminding you that, again, that this is all just my opinions and it's not necessarily based on anything other than my feelings. Additionally, there are things like ferrets that I would also not want. They just don't strike a chord with me. Honestly, there's a lot of pets I don't want just because I have no desire to own them. There's no spark that I feel when I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to keep that. And so some of these pets, it's not even that I think that they're hard to keep or that they're bad or there's something about them that I don't like. It's just that I don't feel like they're what I would want. That's not going to be my first choice, so I'm not going to get it, especially if it's not going to be an animal I'm going to be excited about. So for that reason, ferrets are on my list. There's other things like horses, cows, pigs, farm animals, those types of things, except for chickens, which we'll get to in a second. I think that those animals definitely serve a purpose. They can be really cute, but mainly just the size. Like, I don't see myself living on a farm where I could keep those animals. I have friends who have those animals, and I think they're really interesting and really cool, but I don't see myself personally owning them because of their size and because of the effort that's put into them. I do love horses. I do think cows are really cute. I do think pigs, sheep, and goats are really fun, but I just don't see myself owning them. I'm more than happy to visit your farm animals, but I don't think I would ever keep them just because that's just not me. And then there are some of the creepy crawlies, things like tarantulas and centipedes. I wouldn't say I have arachnophobia, and I wouldn't say that spiders scare me. They do startle me sometimes when they show up in places I do not expect them to be, but I just don't see myself owning a tarantula, not because I'm scared of them, but it's just slightly intimidating, and I'm all for getting over your fears, but I don't think I would want to keep a tarantula just because of some bad experiences I've had in the past with spiders. I love jumping spiders, but there's other types of spiders, especially the bigger ones, that start to kind of freak me out, and I don't think that would be a good idea for me to keep a tarantula, at least at this point. Same thing with centipedes. I love millipedes, don't get me wrong, but there's just something about centipedes that kind of makes me feel uneasy, so I don't think I would want to keep one, at least not in my room or anywhere in my house, because I've also had bad experiences with centipedes. Let's just leave it at that. Now, I'm leaving scorpions off of this list because I feel like scorpions are a little less intimidating than... Did that just fall off? Are you kidding me? whatever, ignore it. As I was saying, I did leave scorpions off this list because I feel like they would not be as intimidating as a tarantula or a centipede, so maybe that's like a stepping block up if I ever were to venture into that area of pet keeping. But even then, like, scorpions are kind of like, do I really want to? Am I just trying to test myself? I'm just letting you know that I'm not like totally against invertebrates and spiders and things like that. It's just not totally my thing. I mean, I would be open to it, but it's just not totally my thing. So anyway, moving on. Another pet I would not want to have is hermit crabs. This is because of the ethics that comes into how they are imported and brought into the pet trade. It's really not a great thing. People have done videos on the hermit crab pet trade and why they don't necessarily make the best pets because of how they're being sourced and because it can be difficult to actually take care of them properly. There's a lot of misinformation. And because hermit crabs, I've been around them like my whole life. We used to live on a waterfront where we had hermit crabs under the rocks. So like I wouldn't feel the need to keep one in my house. I could just go to the beach and visit them and see them there and not take them from their natural habitat. So that's why, because of the ethics that go into it and because I have had exposure to them, and I don't think that that would be an animal I would need to keep in my house. Now finally, we have the last section, which is birds. Now I've never really talked about birds on my channel, and that's because I have no interest in owning birds whatsoever. And I don't really know why. It's kind of like the same thing with the bearded dragon and the ferret, in that I just never felt like an excitement about owning birds. They just don't seem like my type of pet. Now there is one exception. I think that it would be really cool to have chickens because we used to have chickens when we were younger and they were super duper fun. But as far as like birds that you actually would keep in your house, excluding chickens, I've just never felt a desire to keep a bird. Maybe that'll change in the future, but I've never seen myself as a bird person. I've never felt like a bird person. But yeah, so I think that's it. Those are all the pets I would not necessarily want to keep. Once again, it's just my personal opinion and how I feel about these certain animals. Some of them I have not even really had personal experience with, like up close and personal, so maybe things will change if I ever like see them in real life and then feel, oh my gosh, I love this animal, I want to keep it. So maybe I will keep these animals in the future, but it's very, very unlikely. These are all the pets that I don't necessarily want to own. I am planning on making a video of pets I do want to own, which should be really fun because there are a lot of animals that I want to own. But anyways, you can keep an eye out for that. But I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, feel free to drop a thumbs up down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you all next Friday. Have a totally awesome day. Bye-bye.